Good morning, and I'm delighted to be in Ottawa. I haven't seen this much water in quite a long time. But no worries, I'm not here with tankers or with ships to transport it to the Western United States, which I know is always the fear when I show up in anything that borders Canada or the Great Lakes region. I didn't come with any straws or any other diversion mechanisms, so feel safe. Your water will stay where your water is. I have also the great fortune, as part of my Brookings engagement, to now serve on the World Economic Forum on the Global Agenda Council for Water, which just in January declared water the single biggest risk on the planet. And that is the journey that the Southwest, the Colorado River Basin, the city of Las Vegas, and all the other areas around there have experienced. It's that transition from taking water for granted to recognizing the vulnerabilities around this most precious resource that is very difficult for many of us to grasp, and it is a process. It is the elixir of life, and everyone here knows Ben Franklin said, "We don't appreciate its value until the well runs dry." I live in a region that is 27% of the country's GDP and is desperately dependent on one of the most meager river systems in the United States. It has only 18 million acre-feet as opposed to the Mississippi River, where 435 million acre-feet cascade across the country every single year. And it has learned that it is a community of a basin. That same transition is to Francois's point. It is that change in attitude. It is the change of attitude to where I have water and I can be competitive to we have a shared destiny. The minute we start breaking it apart, the minute we start looking at it as mine and yours, and we're going to compete for it, and you're going to suffer, and I'm going to benefit, at that point, the fibers start disintegrating. Whether I look at it from the perspective of the Las Vegas community, where 5 disparate, very disparate water agencies fiercely competed for water resources until they realized that their shared destiny was in coming together, sharing facilities, sharing resources, managing the system as a whole, to a river community that has some of the most vibrant cities in the United States in it, whether it be Denver, whether it be Albuquerque, whether it be Salt Lake, whether it be Los Angeles, San Diego, Phoenix, Tucson, Las Vegas, all tied to the same river system. The same river system that bleeds out of the basin into all sorts of directions, but we will all fail together. That journey of coming to understand that it's not about competition, that it's not about segregating it, but that it's about uniting it and finding a common shared destiny. If I look just at the community of Southern Nevada, taking those 5 disparate agencies and making them the Southern Nevada Water Authority, where no voice, no matter how small, can be rolled, where everyone's on an equal playing field, where everyone's destiny is as important as your neighbor's destiny, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter how rich, no matter how poor. Everyone has the same inherent right to survive. We now go through an integrated resource planning process every single year. One of the bedrocks of the Water Authority's agreement, every single year, this community has to come together, look 50 years out into the future, and 50 years out into the future have to have a resilient water plan. Without that, the state engineer won't sign subdivision maps. The corporations that now have to embed that resource plan in their SEC filings will have a huge gap that will affect their funding. It has become an integral part. And part of that integrated resource planning process is bringing the community in. allowing them to see the data, allowing them to see the science, allowing them to look at the data as a risk assessment. How much risk can we carry? Can we afford to take risk X or risk Y? How resilient do we have to be? That same process got translated into the Colorado River Basin, where 7 states had to begin to recognize that they had a common destiny, and that common destiny and the solutions around that common destiny rested in buffering against every one of our weaknesses, maximizing our common strengths, and working as a unit. And in 2012, we woke up and we finally realized that that same dynamic had to exist with Mexico. And now you have a binational, 7 states in the United States, 2 states in the country of Mexico, coming together in what really is an integrated planning process. One that looks at the exposures and the opportunities. One that looks at exchanging. We pay the Central Arizona Water Conservancy District to bank their unused water in their groundwater basins for Nevada's future use. We in Nevada, through our conservation efforts and by bringing the community in, we were able to reduce our water use by 1/3 within 6 short years during a time period when we increased our population by 400,000 people, because the community saw themselves as a part of the solution. And we allow our conserved water to be used in Southern California and we will get it back through our virtual banking mechanism at times when we need it. That is what the future of water resources is. And it is that coming together and realizing, yes, you are citizens of a community. Yes, you are citizens of a particular state. Yes, you are citizens of a nation, but you are also citizens of a shared water future, a shared basin, a shared resource. And with it come rights, and with it come responsibilities. And it is communicating that to leadership in a way that is not political. It doesn't have a Democratic or a Republican label. It doesn't have a state label. It doesn't even have a national label. It is binational for us. It is 7 states, and it is intercommunity. No one of these plans lasts in perpetuity because we have finally accepted the science of climate change. We have finally accepted that our future is much drier than it was before, and that the shared conservation responsibility and fixing the imbalance in this basin is our first responsibility. Before we even talk about desalters, before we even talk about bringing in all that necessary technology that we have to bring into the area. Coming to grips with that shared future and having this conversation in terms of a risk assessment. How much risk are you willing to take? How much exposure are you willing not only to put your community through now, but hand off to future generations? A river system that you read it in the paper is destined to failure, is destined to crash. You see the pictures of Lake Mead going down. Now, these communities, these connected states, without anybody's name on it eventually, they are today going to pay farmers to take a small cut and leave that water in the system for the sake of the system. Not for the sake of any one community, but for the sake of the system as a whole. That is a journey that's not an event. And it is a constant conversation in real terms with the communities saying the same thing in every state up and down that basin. That's how you take the knowledge of what climate change is bringing, the knowledge of what water quality factors go into it, and you translate it into community action. The impossible has become possible for 7 states and 2 countries. Thank you.